we got a lot to catch up on. You know, I was away when the Supreme Court came through and backed up Trump's removal of Tren de Aragua without the help of Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she's one we've been watching and worrying about for a while. Not entirely surprised. I think we're going to continue to be somewhat disappointed, certainly by John Roberts. I think I was probably more surprised John Roberts sided with Donald Trump on this. But Amy Coney Barrett broke with Trump, sided with the liberal justices on the court, and here's why. And we ultimately know why. Jesse Kelly, talk show host, posted a link to a story out of, I believe, Texas. I'm not sure where she lives. But Amy Coney Barrett's sister was targeted by a bomb threat at her home not too terribly long ago. Did you know that, Fast Eddie? Amy Coney Barrett's family. We know that Judge Kavanaugh has been a target before. We know that Alito's had some dust-ups with his neighbors over flying a flag and things like that. Did you know that Amy Coney Barrett's sister was targeted by a bomb scare not too long ago? And the question, of course, is this why Amy Coney Barrett makes curious decisions? You think it's possible, Ed? She makes decisions out of fear. She doesn't want to get crossways with the left? I think that's very, very possible.
No, Chris, I do very much so. I think this is a real fear for everybody at that stage. But yes, I think she's taking it the hardest that we've seen. Sure.
So when people say, why would she make such a weird decision? I don't know. Look, we have to now assume that the Marxist left, I mean, there's a story today, in fact, assassination culture from Fox News. A new bombshell study reveals assassination culture is spreading on the left under Donald Trump. A disturbing new report reveals violent political rhetoric online, including calls for the murder of public figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, is being increasingly normalized, particularly on the left. Folks, do I have to remind you of Luigi Mangione? Remember him? Hell, they think he's like a supermodel. The left celebrates him. Number one, because he's so strikingly handsome, we're told. The ladies love him. Remember Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about that, how his staff is just fixated with watching him. They think he's so gorgeous. But, of course, he was a folk hero on the left because he gunned down in cold blood the head of United Healthcare Insurance in Manhattan on videotape for all of us to see. He's a hero. I mean, out in California, they even named legislation after him. The Democrats did. So you say there's a new study that reveals assassination culture is spreading on the left. Of course it is. Brett Kavanaugh was threatened with assassination. Donald Trump has had an attempt on his life twice. The report from Network Contagion Research Institute, NCRI, found that a growing number of people are willing to justify and even applaud killing in the name of politics and a warped sense of social justice. The chilling change appears to have accelerated in recent months. Joel Finkelstein, the lead author of the report, telling Fox what was formerly taboo culturally has become acceptable. We're seeing a clear shift, glorification, increased attempts, and changing norms, all converging into what we define as assassination culture. The NCRI study traces the cultural shift back to the assassination of, voila, the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. What followed, researchers say, was a viral wave of memes that turned Mangione into a folk hero, just as I said. According to the study, these memes have sparked copycat behavior, targeting other figures associated with wealth and conservative politics. It's not just Luigi anymore. We're seeing an expansion. Trump, Musk, others are now being openly discussed as legitimate targets, often cloaked in meme culture and gamified online dialogue. While on that topic, from the Daily Mail, Ryan Wesley Ruth, this is the guy that was allowed to climb on top of the roof in Butler, Pennsylvania, and take a shot at Donald Trump from 150 yards, an easy shot for most people who handle rifles regularly. He was allowed. It's always important when we talk about this to remind ourselves that this 20-year-old was allowed on top of that roof to take a shot at Donald Trump. The word is allowed. I use it very intentionally, and I will die on that hill for the rest of my life until a full investigation is done and released, and I believe it's being done at present. He was allowed on that roof. Citizens, bystanders, shouting, "There's a guy on the roof." Nothing. You don't let somebody on a rooftop 150 yards from a president speaking at a podium. You don't let that happen unless you allow it to happen. It was allowed to happen anyway. Guys' bodies immediately burned. Nobody, they get rid of it immediately. There's been almost zero analysis or discussion of it. Now it's starting to percolate a little bit. Ryan Routh sought to purchase a rocket launcher from Ukraine the month before he was arrested for allegedly attempting to assassinate Donald Trump. The alleged would-be assassin corresponding on an encrypted messaging app with someone he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. It goes on to allege that Routh... Excuse me, I'm sorry, this was not Butler. This was the guy hiding in the lush bushes at Trump's course. My apologies. We don't know. We still don't know about the guy on the roof. I confused my assassins. I'm sorry. Ryan Ruth's the guy they pulled over in Florida, and he's 58, asked the associate in Ukraine to send an RPG or Stinger, and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine. I need equipment so Trump cannot get elected, Ruth said, according to this filing. Prosecutors allege that the correspondence, including discussion over price and shipment of such anti-aircraft weapons, further proof of Ruth's intent to assassinate Trump. So, my apologies. All of these details that were released are on the guy they caught down in Florida, not the guy in Butler, Pennsylvania, who we still don't know anything about, actually. And sadly, Dan Bongino put out on social media yesterday, and I really appreciate this about Dan. Dan, now working with Kash Patel at FBI, he said, listen, I understand when we say trust us inside the government, that doesn't hold much water for you. Dan keeps saying to people on his X account, his official X account, just know that the work is being done, and even if you don't see it, I promise you we're getting to the bottom of this, and in due course, you're going to know all that you need to know. And I don't know that he's necessarily talking about the assassination attempt on Trump, although I hope that's part of it, but I think there's much, much more. He assures people that he and Kash inside the FBI are getting to the bottom of things that you and I want investigated and we want information on, but it's going to take time, and that we have to be patient with him and to just trust that it's happening. But he understands the government has zero credibility with you and me for the most part, and so it's hard to hear a now government official, even though it's Dan Bongino, say, trust us, we're getting it done. I will say this. Those of you who called this show months ago before Pam Bondi was confirmed Attorney General and said you had misgivings about her, that has not gone away. And you know who I'm now going to include in that? Although I think she's producing real results. Kristi Noem. Ed, I got to address something here, and it's uncomfortable, but I just got to tell you what's true. Not a pom-pom shaker here, not rah-rah for the sake of rah-rah. I'm starting to hear a lot of concern about Pam Bondi's constant cable news participation without seemingly real aggressive prosecutorial results. I'm starting to hear a lot of displeasure with people like Kristi Noem, dressing up in various gear and going out on assignments with various law enforcement agencies. Whether that's true or warranted, I'm not judging one way or the other. I'm just saying friendly people who elected Donald Trump are now being particularly critical of these two. Are you hearing that, and is that warranted?
I am, Chris. I mean, Chris, you know Donald Trump for a long time. Its optics are important. You can't roll out in front of the big bad dudes in the jail with a Rolex watch on, right? Like, that's bad. You can't produce this. We have an MS-13 gang member, Pam Bondi. We're going to have a press conference and then have it on one network and then provide no details about it. Yeah, this is real.
So, Bongino says there at FBI, hey, we're working on it, trust us. But they're going about the work quietly. We're not hearing a lot from Kash or Dan on TV. They're just doing the work.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.